Don't lose yourself, don't sell your soul, Max. They want your soul because you changed the game. Don't sell your soul. You know I have a soul. You know I don't hold my tongue. You know you the first person that ever subbed me up as a big streamer in my chat. You ain't mention it. You don't know how much I appreciate you. But you bigger than that, nigga.
This video was about the Plaqueboy Max situation at Streamer University. Clip went around of Plaqueboy Max, the producer, streamer, and he had a conversation, or he had a berating, or he had, I would say, an experience with a person called Ojay Suave. There's been a big sort of, social media sort of conversation about what took place. People are for Plaqueboy Max in terms of, how he presents himself, because there's been questions over, a period of how he presents. And then obviously about what Ojay said, and some people supporting, some people saying, you know what? He said things that were maybe uncalled for. I want to go into this clip. I want to speak on it and then obviously give my opinion on what I believe took place and what the sort of conclusion I come to as to why, there's been some form of noise about this clip. Plaqueboy Max, he's a young person. He's around 23 years of age from what I gather. He obviously understands, I will assume, the sort of impact that, how you present and what you do, will always have some form of critique. Anything that's public facing, front facing will always have some form of critique, some form of opinion, whatever it is, right? You can be doing something that you perceive is with the right motives, but other people have their opinion. Anything we do, anything that people do that's public facing will always have scrutiny on it. Now, this person, Ojay Suave, mentioned the fact that he had a diva tattoo in the clip. It was a tattoo that he got on his side, like near the rib cage area. This was the sort of start of the conversation where he asked him, if he's a diva, you've got all this stuff on you, right? What's going on? So it was basically him giving his opinion on things from, his point of view and what he believes could take place if certain things don't maybe change, right? So let's get into the video.
When you want to be a diva, you're a demon. You need holy oil, right? You need to sit down in the holy oil. You need to go get a church bath and cleanse your body, right? I think you are confused. I think you need some guidance. I think your parents feel a little way about that. I think you're clip farming and you're getting your clips. You pushing the persona. You smart. You loyal. I know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. You've been at this. But you are not a diva. Divas bend over. I don't think you bend over. You're not the little boys in Clover. You're not Tota. You're not a diva. You are a grown man. Plaqueboy Max. Not Plaqueboy Bati. Not Plaqueboy Ass. Are you gonna tell your son that you are a diva? Daddy, what's diva? Hey, get the fuck out of here. That is an abomination, Max. I am not proud of you. I am proud of everything else you did. Nominations, changing the game, changing your skin to Bati diva. Diva start with D. Diddy. What else? It's like this, Max. And I could speak like this because after the clips go up and they don't like me, I don't use social media no more, so I can be a crackhead for life. When you keep pushing that barrier, Max, when you keep pushing that barrier and time passes, what happens? What next? What's the next engagement? What's the next clip? Don't lose yourself, don't sell your soul, Max. They want your soul because you changed the game. Don't sell your soul. You know I have a soul. You know I don't hold my tongue. You know you the first person that ever subbed me up as a big streamer in my chat. You ain't mention it. You don't know how much I appreciate you. But you bigger than that, nigga.
So that's majority of the clip, right? He started crying from that point on. But I want to get into his points. Ojay Suave, the diva tattoo, the fact that you could open other doors to certain things that could, alter you, where you're selling your soul, as he said, right? And obviously mentioning what diva tattoo, in his opinion, means and the connotations that come with it. Ojay Suave, he's a streamer, and it looks like he's into fashion as well. His style, from what I've seen, I've done a few checks on him. his style is questionable. It will be questionable based on the eccentric nature of it, right? He likes to see himself, it seems, as different and pushing boundaries, it seems, with his fashion. In the clip, he had these, he had obviously Streamer University designed on his trousers, and obviously he had this scarf as well. A look like this could be questioned, as well as Max's look as well, right? Because Max's dress sense has been questioned. He's done stuff with hair pieces and things of that nature. And they are both in a questionable state in the way they present. I will say that if you see other photos of Ojay Suave, he has clothing that people could say, but are you that way inclined? Fair, in my opinion, point, because we've seen what clothes sometimes can be associated with. It doesn't mean that it's set in stone that if you wear this, you are that way inclined, or if you wear that. But the point is, there's certain clothes that are generally associated, right? So I will say that about the Ojay Suave guy. He will say, "I know I'm pushing boundaries. I'm into fashion. I'm not that way, but I just like to do different things. I like pieces and all these terms, right?" Okay, cool. That's one point. Now, having a diva tattoo, generally diva, the term is associated with women. So to have that on his side, I don't know what he's looking to do. I don't know why he has it. So that is a confusing aspect, right? Just from the outside looking in, whatever he believes his diva tattoo is, that's on him. But it is generally for women. The term, right, is associated generally for women. He is in an era where this look, Plaqueboy Max and the Ojay Suave era, this look is something that has been going on for a good amount of years now. You look back to the Lil Wayne, the rock look, where it's like I'm a rock star, right? That was where, for me, it became even more popularized. If you want to go further back, Diplomat's era, when, Jim Jones and things of that nature. I'm not saying they're the same. I'm saying there is a morphing of that style where it's like a rock star style. So these guys, the Plaqueboy Max, he will consider himself like that kind of look, rock star-ish. This look is something that has now transformed over the years. The Young Thugs, remember the Young Thugs where he was dressing up in a certain way on his album covers? Plaqueboy Max hair pieces. I hear he's trying to look like Prince, or he's on some fly-ish, as he says, in terms of why he's doing this look. He's had wigs and things that you can question based on the fact that if you're seeing how he was before, you're thinking, okay, what is this now? Are you doing this because you think you're in the industry, and industry means I have to be different, I have to be creative, or I have to be looked at as a rock star, and rock star associates itself with being out there? These are all questions. So I think Ojay is looking at all of this from the outside looking in and thinking, okay, I knew of this guy. So it seems that they know of each other for sure. What he was saying around the tattoo, he was saying it in a way, and how his whole delivery was suggested to me of someone like a big brother, right? Now, a big brother that just says it as it is. He has a straightforward way, it seems. But also, to me, how he was even speaking was also in moments where he was trying to be, if you read between the lines, he was trying to be entertaining. That's how it sounded to me when I was watching it. It sounded like, okay, yeah, he's saying some stuff that he really believes, but also he was saying it in a way that I'm not as angry with you, but I'm disappointed. Now, some people would say, but what right does he have? Fair point. But I think he was coming from a big brother standpoint of, I actually do care. Now, you may say in that moment, it doesn't sound like he does, but he has the typical, and you may have come across people like this, straightforward, yo, bro, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Why, that kind of straight up, you get people like that. You must know what that entails. That's the vibe I'm getting. And again, this is me from a neutral standpoint, outside looking in, trying to be as objective as possible of what I see. Him now going to the insinuation that, diva, D, and all that stuff that he was mentioning. Now, I don't know for Plaqueboy Max what he's on in that regard. He can do what he believes he wants to do. Personally, if he says he also believes, and I've heard him say that, there is a definite discrepancy there, and them two don't mix. If you believe, and then obviously if you are also partaking in activity that's, do you know what I mean, that way inclined. So I will say that the word, you can check the Bible, you can check them things. If you believe in that, it doesn't coincide, right? That's one thing. When it comes also to, as he mentioned, selling your soul, that aspect is a key point to mention for anyone, not just for him. not just for him, because there is a potential that you can start doing things that are against your natural common sense, your natural moral compass, the way you order yourself. You could be doing certain things that are questionable to get to certain positions. That is a potential of any person that gets into an industry, that has certain things that, if you do this, you can get this. Selling your integrity and giving away what you believe from a moral compass standpoint just to get somewhere when all of this stuff doesn't last anyway. You can't take this with you. If you're looking to do that, that has to be questioned. If you get to that point of selling yourself, and selling yourself could be to dark entities, spiritual entities, and things you potentially do not want to open up, because we've seen a lot of people in the industry over the years. We've seen erratic behavior. We've seen the depressive state some people have been in. We've seen the drug usage. So we've seen what the industry can do to people if they go too far. So that point, he had a point. Don't sell yourself. Don't sell your soul, more or less. Don't open up certain things and give up certain things willingly, which you can then be controlled in a way that can lead to all sorts of destruction, right? Because we've seen the effects of this in the industry, of certain artists, certain people, entertainment people, whatever it is, we've seen it. So on that regard, he has a point. Don't do it. So his points in general, they're fair points in my humble opinion. It is just if you question who is OJ and why does he feel he has to do it, that's another conversation. And the question should be also, should he have done this off camera? Personally, I will say yes. If you have an issue or you have something that you want to give to a person that you actually check for, he has to look at that aspect as well. Could I have done it off cam? But I will say Plaqueboy Max should look at any aspects that involve him compromising his belief systems before he got into the game. If he had belief system before getting into the industry and then saying, I'm doing this on some flat-ish, you have to question sometimes your moves. Is it veering off to what I believe? Certain depictions, am I doing certain things that are beneficial? And that goes to anyone. That's not just to him. If I have a belief system, now I'm moving in this industry. Am I doing things that are within it or not? If you are believing in what you're doing, presenting in the way you're presenting, crying shouldn't be the thing. It should be, this is what I like. This is what I am. I'm standing on it. But because to me, he's going through a position, in my opinion, Plaqueboy Max, of finding different ways to present himself because he's still young. And in my opinion, is looking to appear a certain way. That whole larger than life sort of, I am an artist. I am a creative. I am, a rock star. He's doing things that are suggestive of, okay, I'm trying different things to appease or to appeal in that way. If you are crying, it suggests also, in my humble opinion, that there was some form of conviction there. When he got to the point of, don't sell your soul, Max, that's when he started, to me, breaking down. He had heard enough, but when he started saying and giving him some, commendable points of the Grammy nominations, you've done this, you've done that, you've done this. These are the positive stuff. But then he went to don't sell your soul. Maybe there's a pull in him that's saying, I know what I believe, right? But I want this industry thing. I want to do this, but at the same time, I do have a belief system as well. So it's like a pull. So I think that's where the crying came from. I don't think he was crying because you're just hurting me and you're saying all these bad things. I think it was more of there's a form of conviction there, because if he believes what he's doing, there will be no reason to cry. You would just be like, all right, it is what it is. Yeah, all right, you're saying what you're saying about how I look, but I like it. But that kind of inability to hold firm in what you actually are presenting yourself like suggests what he's saying has some conviction. Because you can say anything to me. If I believe certain things, you're not moving me, So here suggests he's still young and is doing things and trying different things. But when you try certain things and you go sometimes too far, you could veer off and eventually, not saying it could get to that point, but you could start getting to states where you don't need to be in, mental states you don't need to be in. Because now you're in a state of, okay, let me try this, let me try that. And then you're never satisfied or you're never happy on how you're doing things potentially. Because you're always thinking of doing it for others, doing it for a look, a perception, So his point on that regard about the selling your soul and where it can lead to, is right. There was another clip with Plaqueboy Max standing firm on his position of how he presents. So he's basically saying, feel how you feel. If you feel, like you want to do what you want to do, do it. Express how you want to express. That's the world we're in right now. We're in this particularly, era of express and be you and, be free and do what you feel. So that's basically where he was coming from as well. But he was basically making it clear that, look, if OJ is my friend or he's cool with me, why should he say it in front of, thousands of people? All in all, there was a conviction of, I hear what you're saying, but maybe I'm not ready. He probably, in his opinion, heard enough to say that, I hear you. There's some points maybe where he probably agreed with, but it was more of, in his eyes, Plaqueboy, why do it in front of this many people? And secondly, people can do what they want, more or less. And that's fair. That is true. People can do what they want. It just depends on what your belief system is and why you do what you do, and what your intentions are. And how many people you influence, what age groups you influence. These are all things you got to question in whatever you're doing. There were truths, in my opinion, to what he was saying. It's just, do you believe he is worthy of saying it based on how he presents? And people can believe it's unsolicited because it came out of nowhere. But it's something that maybe he's been watching because he knows of him and felt it was the right time. But I question, the only thing I mainly question here is him doing it in front of the camera. That's my main thing. Other than that, if he wants to speak to him like this, even if this was off cam and he speaks to him like this, he can do it. It's just the fact that we've seen it on cam, so it's ignited people's opinions. You don't maybe like the delivery, what he was saying, how he was saying it, but these things happen off cam. These things happen in certain conversations with certain people who are very straight to the point, straight up with their words. And there's many people like this that exist. So this is not shocking, in my humble opinion. From my era, growing up in the 90s, this is not shocking. Now, whether it's good is another question. And for me, if you're trying to get somebody that you see is going off, that you may think is going off, he may not be, but you may think is going off, yes, you can suggest, this is what I'm seeing. What is it? Why do you want this? What is it? Whether Plaqueboy Max wanted to answer him back or wants to hear this is another thing. Could he have even walked and said, nah, I don't want to hear this right now? He could have. So there were so many instances things could have been, but he decided to stay because maybe I think I'm cool with him and I'm listening to hear what he has to say because I kind of check for how he is in terms of his style and what he is. But it'll be interesting to find out what people think. What's your opinion on this Ojay Suave, Plaqueboy Max situation? Do you believe he had any right to speak? Do you think him doing it in front of the camera was good? Or do you believe it's something you could have just spoke to him and be like, look, I want to speak to you off camera about certain things? What's your opinion? Let me know.